Hey, what's up, Geekscapists? Welcome to a brand new Geekscape episode. I'm Jonathan London, your host. If this is your first Geekscape, well, welcome to Geekscape. We're going to talk movies, video games, comic books, all sorts of pop culture stuff, sometimes music. Definitely this episode, because my good friend Scott Klopfenstein, formerly of the band Real Big Fish, is a guest. And this is Geekscape. We're going to be talking pop culture. And if you haven't heard Geekscape yet, well, it is International Podcast Day. So you really picked a great day to jump in. We are live streaming this on the recording, but also it is available on our podcast feeds. If you subscribe to podcasts and this is your first Geekscape, oh my God, tell your friends about us. Maybe you go to iTunes and you listen to your podcast there, or you get them over. I'm going to call it Apple Podcasts. I think they want me to call it Apple Podcasts. One day we'll all be used to calling it Apple Podcasts. Maybe you listen on Spotify. Maybe you're like the Google person. Maybe you're PC Master Race and you listen on like those weird podcatchers that I find in my analytics where I'm like, somebody was listening to this on Zweebcast or whatever the weird names of these podcast apps are. Whatever and however and wherever you're listening to Geekscape, I'm just glad you're here, because 15 years ago I started podcasting and Geekscape was built from that. And it was built mainly for people like you to have a place to go where there were like-minded geeks. This is before the MCU started bringing us all to multiplexes and droves. And this is all before around the time Comic-Con started really becoming a huge thing. This is the year 2005. And podcasting was definitely in its nascency. It's not much older now. I would say it's like a 7-year-old. Like it has the maturity of a 7-year-old. I know this show, we'll put it somewhere at like a 10-year-old's maturity level. And it's been a ride. I think that Geekscape has done everything and more that I planned on it to do. And a little bit about me real quick, and I'm sure this isn't your first Geekscape for many of you. I came out of wanting to be a broadcaster. When I was in high school and middle school, my heroes were all broadcasters, people like David Letterman and Greg Kinnear on Talk Soup. I've talked about him a lot here on the show. And I loved stuff like Kids in the Hall, MST3K. Those were my shows. And I just wanted to be on the radio, and I just wanted to have an audience and talk to them and interview people and pick their brains and find out what made creative people tick. And so when podcasting started up, we were pretty early adopters, and that's what Geekscape is. It's me sitting down with creative people and talking about them, usually in the pop culture world. And what's been amazing about it is that we've met so many amazing, incredible people in that journey. And not just the people who've been guests on the show, but people like you, people who are listening to the show, and you've done amazing things. Like even if it's just as small as like leaving us a review on whatever podcatcher you're listening to this on, or hitting a share button and sharing it with your friends. It's really helped Geekscape grow. Maybe you discovered us at Comic-Con at our booth. Maybe you heard about us through some of the projects that we've co-produced, like the documentary Doc of the Dead, or other films that we've worked on, or ZombieCon, the in-person 2-year zombie convention that we threw in Seattle for those 2 years. And I think in 2010, 2011, Geekscape really became a brand to put all those things together. And I could not be prouder of the fact that Matt Kelly has built this thing into a podcast network. I was just before we started recording the show, and before I was talking to my friend Scott and prepping for the show, I was listening to my favorite Geekscape podcast, One Hit Thunder, from my friend Chris Fafalios, that Matt Kelly produces, and where they take one hit. Scott should be on the show, because they take one hit, like one hit wonder hit, and they discuss whether or not the band's or the artist's entire discography is great, or if they truly were a one-hit wonder. And they do a deep dive into that one song and kind of the context of that song. And it's just a great podcast. And of course, you have Horror Movie Night. We've got Bulletproof Action, talking about action films. We've got wrestling podcasts. We've got everything at the podcast that a geek could want at this network. And I just couldn't be prouder, because on the audio side, it is such a fun network, and I want you all to explore it, especially on International Podcast Day. Let's turn it into International Podcast Week. Give you time to explore a couple of your options and filter a couple more Geekscape podcasts into your listening trends, and share them with your friends. That really helps us. So you've helped this little kid's dreams come true. The dreams will continue, because this is what I want to do. I love talking to y'all. And that's about it. I also want to remind y'all, while we're talking about International Podcast Day, and I'm giving a sincere thanks to everyone who's helped get us to this point, I want to tell you all that The only way we can experience this in the future is if we have a future. So I'm going to go ahead and say, as much as I like the idea of a post-apocalyptic world where we all have to like dress up like Mad Max and be in like warring bands of brigands and pillagers together, I need you all to vote. And in some of the states here in the U.S., it's getting a little late in the day and the sun is going down on your chance to register to vote. But I'm sure if you go to vote.gov right now, within the week of you listening to this podcast, you should be in good shape to go out there and vote and get registered to vote wherever you are. Maybe just go to the website and double check that your address is legit and that whatever you're registered at is good. You don't want any of this malarkey, and you don't want any of this. You want to make sure that you're able to have your voice heard. So double check your registration. If you can, volunteer at a polling place. I myself am volunteering at a polling place, and I got to tell you, the presidential debate was last night, the very first one. And if you remember, President Trump did not exactly disavow or disown white supremacists or Proud Boys. And not only that, he told them to stand by. Maybe just go and make sure that these voting places are working. I would say that he suggested a little bit of voter intimidation. So why don't we just go ahead and go to the voting places ourselves as volunteers? A lot of the people who usually are volunteers at voting places are all older than the demographic of Geekscape. So while we're young, while we're healthy, let's let the older demographic stay home, avoid the risk of coronavirus, and let's take their place. Let's volunteer and make sure that if the Proud Boys come around because they had to stand by, now they've been activated. Let's make sure that we're there and we're standing proud and we're helping people vote legally. All right. I'm not telling you to bring a freaking baseball bat with nails in it to the polling place. Please do not do that. Do not bring a baseball bat with nails to the voting place expecting a Proud Boy to show up and do some voter intimidation. Just go there and do the job and make sure everybody's vote gets counted and submitted. All right. That's me. Thanks again for joining Geekscape. If you've been enjoying for 15 years and listening to me for 15 years, thank you so much. Let's get to the show. I'm going to bring in my co-host, Katie Elsesser. We have a little bit of talking to do. Before the show, we got a little bit of a hullabaloo about whether or not we're actually friends or enemies. Because it turns out that Katie and I have known each other long enough that we have a lot of mutual friends, and people are like, wait, whoa. Y'all know each other? Now I don't know which one's a better friend. Huh. Well, the answer is Katie's probably a better friend, but if you want us to fight, we are totally willing to. Here's Katie. Get in here.
Let's do this. Come on. By the way, I love the idea of somebody showing up to a voting poll with a Negan-esque bat ready to just roll.
Well, I've definitely, I've put that I'm going to be a poll volunteer. I'm going to be at the polling station volunteering and making sure everybody, I don't care who you vote for. I just want you to vote, and I'll make sure everything is on the up and up. Mm-hmm. But in case it don't, I'm not saying I'm going to have a bat with nails in it.
Please tell me you're going to cosplay at the voting poll as Super Action Man.
What could be more American than Super Action Man helping you vote? And potentially having a cage of rabid weasels waiting somewhere where I can just easily
just yank up the.
And I just bring up the gate and a bunch of rabid weasels who've been greased ahead of time. Yeah, because
you can't grab onto them.
Yeah, it's one thing to be attacked by a rabid weasel, and that is my weapon of choice for range purposes. But if you grab them, it's like they can only bite one person. If you grease them up, which is something that I've gotten good at, if you grease the weasels up ahead of time, they can't grab them. They can't take the weasels out of the fight. They can do a lot more damage. I'm saying you're multiplying your chances of getting.
What you're using for grease? Are you doing butter? Are you doing oil? What are you doing to grease up these weasels?
It's like a home brew.
Okay, so environmentally friendly type of thing.
Yeah. It's a locally farmed
oil.
It's a locally farmed slick. This is all in the up and up, Katie. If you come to my voting place where I'm volunteering and you try and do some voter suppression, some voter intimidation, all I got to do, and I'm going to have this thing on a remote. I just press a button. The gate comes up on this cage that I've kept these greased up weasels with rabies in.
And they have rabies.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they have rabies. Yeah.
Okay.
You put them in the cage, you inject them. They got the rabies, and then they just, you're like, it's like a redneck version of the Beastmaster. I just like let them out. They just go, yeah, and then like not that I have names for them.
Okay, are you gonna be like the dude where if one of them dies, you're just gonna like lean over its body and just like
your Mark Singer impersonation, the guy who played the Beastmaster?
No, I was doing the guy with the like horn teeth, and he
Raincore trainer.
Yeah, the Raincore trainer. Yes.
When the Raincore died. Let's talk about this, and maybe this is where we bring Scott Klopfenstein in to help us talk about this, because
we're not going to talk about our beef brawl before this, and Igor.
Well, our good friend Igor was like, I don't know who to support this, who to send weapons for. Listen, Geekscape, I know you all, like, Katie's super popular with you all. Like, she's definitely helped reinvigorate me in the way that I've wanted in a co-host, to have somebody who's funnier than me and better and really good at talking and everything. Like, she should be the host of the show.
Oh,
that being said, like, if you start, like, if you feel like some kind of conflict of your loyalty and like, who do I support if they have to fight to the death, send your weapons to Katie, because I was born with mine. Okay.
See, here's the thing. Mine might be a little COVID loose because I've been pandemic pounding the pound cake, but you know what? I could take a down.
Okay. I just got to tell you, Katie, warning you, I got some Iron Fist shit. I just remember when I was in Tibet.
So you have ninja stars, is what you're saying? You have a bad script, bad acting?
Listen, I didn't really Geekscape. So it was a time that maybe you were like, hey, I didn't get a Geekscape episode this week. Let me explain that. I'm gonna come clean with you because it's the International Podcasting Day, okay?
And this is the day that we all know truth comes out.
This is International Podcasting Day, and I feel like finally, for once, I should tell the Geekscape is like the truth. That one time, I don't know when it was, when you were looked up, and maybe like one of the 3 weeks ever that you didn't get a free Geekscape podcast. You thankless little jerks, go leave us a review. It was because I was in Tibet, climbing a mountain, trying to find purpose in this world. I've done that many times. I have to search for purpose.
Did you also fall down a cave with a bunch of bats?
No. Only clumsy little brats do that. Listen, anything like that. I found, I was like, I'm going to starve to death. This is the dumbest thing I could have done. I came up this mountain in Tibet. Like, what am I doing here? And I came upon this hidden spring, and I swam in it, and it imbued me with these powers. There were these old Asian dudes. They saw me naked. It's all good. But they gave me they gave me powers for fighting. And I just felt like you need to know that, Katie, in case for some reason, like, the Geekscape will start liking you more and you resist what I think you should be doing, which is starting a new show on the Geekscape network where you talk about video games. Right, if you do not start a podcast on this network, you are being wasted, and I will be angry. We will have to cage fight. And at first, and I won't use the weasels. I'll fight honorably.
Full on final bossing. Yeah, because we were saying that Mark would be my semi-boss or my mini-boss, perhaps. Because, if he came into this house and tried to throw some bullshit around or something like that, Mark would definitely one-punch knockout. But I am the final boss here. And no, I didn't go to Tibet and like find my way or pay, I don't know, a $300+ ticket to go to Tibet. I grew up in the system, okay? I grew up on the streets of Phoenix, Arizona.
I grew up in the heat. I used my lizard powers. I grew scales on the inside.
And the outside. My heart is covered in lizard scales, and my body is covered in salmon pink and turquoise. I'm from the desert.
I have spirit powers from the desert. I think that listen, the difference between me and a rattlesnake.
I like you're writing my life.
A rattlesnake rattles to warn you. I rattled to let you know you already been
dead.
And I got to tell you, here we go. The audience has spoken already. Matt Kelly says, I've known Jonathan for 15 years, and I've never met Katie, so I'm pretty confident Katie is the better friend. And then Jim Pelgrinelli says, you would know all about greasing weasels, Jonathan.
He would.
He also wants me, for you video viewers, those of you watching live, he wants me to move a little bit to my left to let you all know that I have completed The Office, because the Van Damme Kickboxer poster is up and my life is not complete. I really feel like it brings
so
the whole
intense
together.
that those pectoral muscles are like boobs in and of themselves. Like
They're
those
not
are
bad.
they're intense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't piss me off, Katie, because mine are not like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, who got the glow? I got the glow. So let's bring Scott in. Scott Klopfenstein, everybody. You may know him from his music. You'll probably know him from his music. But he's also got this brand new Twitch channel that he started a few weeks ago. And it is already a rocket, man. I got on the Twitch channel maybe last week and was just like, damn, Scott's got this down to a science. Which I really, let's say, it was G Scott. G Scott is the brains behind the operation. Scott is the heart. All right. If it's the Justice League, Scott, like G Scott is like the Batman, and Scott is like the Wonder Woman, and the Superman. I don't know. I don't know. Let's go ahead and ask him. Scott, how you doing, buddy? Welcome.
I'm good.
To Geekscape.
Hello, everybody.
For a little conversation there.
What's going on?
Nothing much, dude. If you and I went to dinner or lunch like a week or so before this whole pandemic happened, and it just feels like last year. It feels like 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, it was an insanely long time of short ago. Yeah.
So I need you to talk about this because I think that it's a major problem. Katie mentioned the Rancor Wrangler, the Rancor trainer there in Return of the Jedi. Can we just talk about this shit? Because I'm with the first Star Wars trilogy for those first two movies. But I think even as a kid, that scene where Luke throws a rock at that at the control mechanism in lets the door come down on the Rancor and kills it. I was like, that shit doesn't sit well with me. And I have many reasons where that shit doesn't sit well with me. Because he's supposed to have gone through training. Now he's a Jedi. He's on black and all this stuff. Got it.
He's using his smarts. But yeah, no, Scott, I want to know.
Here's the
sorry.
problem.
I have to kind of actually side. The Rock makes sense. Least amount of effort. Zen situation. He assesses. He doesn't panic. Violence isn't it's not always the head on. Sometimes it's the way around.
Yeah, he doesn't force choke it or anything like that.
He curved. He figured out to curve the bullet, and it's
I do not mean to bring you on the show just to tell you how wrong you are.
Oh wow! Okay.
Let's keep something in mind that is very clear and made very clear for us several scenes later. R2 has the fucking lightsaber the entire time, and Luke is like, I'm going to use a fucking bone to fight this thing. Dude, what is this Chad move where he's like, hang back, everybody. I got this. I know there's a lightsaber right there, and I can probably mercifully kill this thing, or just force hover and not fall in a damn pit in the first place. But I'm going to show off a little bit for a couple of these freaking Gungans or whatever the hell is up top. I'm just going to show you guys my sick bone fighting, stone throwing moves. Why not use the lightsaber that R2's got up top? It's not like R2 already had a platter full of drinks on him yet. That came later. I can understand that R2's I would throw you the lightsaber, but I get Jabba put a platter full of drinks on my head. But the dude had the lightsaber the whole time. I was like, nope, I'm going bone and rock on this one. I'm going primal. Okay. Babes.
But has it ever occurred to you that Luke lived on Tatooine and never got to see the Pit of Jakku? So he just was like, I got it. He wanted to see the sights.
He just wanted to see it. He just wanted to experience all the things. It's kind of like a buffet platter. There's so many options, and he didn't get to go in the pit before, so we might as well.
Hey, hon, sorry you're blind right now, but dude, you can see this.
This is the thing to see.
Its breath isn't so good, so I hope you're slathering up with breath mint because you're going in first. Matt Kelly's in the chat, and he said straight up, John, do you tell people your cards at a poker table? Hell yes, I do. And then Big Yanks, who Scott, Big Yanks over in Long Island, says, was he not trying to hide the fact that he was a Jedi? No, he wasn't. He went in and tried to use his force moves on freaking Jabba, and Jabba's like, your Jedi tricks don't work on me, dude.
He wanted to appear weak. I mean, Scott, come on.
Hiding the fact that he was a freaking Jedi. Like, none. He showed up in cosplay. Like, dude, we're so straight up letting you know he was a Jedi from the beginning.
I don't know. Scott, when you watched that as a kid or as an adult, I don't know when you watched it. I don't want to judge. Was that not like a cool move, or was that kind of a lame thing? What do you think?
Oh, the Rock. I don't know. I think it was fine. Like it didn't sit wrong with me. I felt like it did something where you got to actually see that the people in Jabba's palace were people. You know what I mean? It like humanized monsters in a way.
Had
it
a
was like,
dude, to the Rancor. He raised
the trainer was like legitimately upset. That guy, first of all, that guy did a great job of acting. I didn't for a second believe that his favorite puppy died. Like I was like, oh, that's a person who's like heartbroken. And then his buddy is like right there, like arm over and like, oh, I know it's tough
hard.
Stuff,
it's hard,
like,
man. This terrorist just came in.
It really humanized the whole gang for me. And I was like, I'd probably drink there.
I mean, they are in a den of thieves. They've seen death every single day. And this is what made that dude cry.
Right? That's saying something. It's a statement.
So I don't see how that like dismisses what I'm saying. Luke is the monster in that scene.
Yeah, no, Luke is definitely the monster in that scene. Like he killed the Rancor. Like that wasn't up for a debate. Luke is definitely the monster in that scene, but I thought you were saying that it was kind of cheesy and cheap.
Matt's back and he says, like, come on, this is strategy. What benefit is he showing he has a lightsaber when you're in a pit filled with the entire palace of bad guys versus on a ship with like 5 guards?
Wait,
there's an aspect.
Didn't he also like cruise in and like force choke some Gungan guards on the way in?
A Gamorrean, yeah.
Gamorrean guard, yeah.
Gamorrean, yeah.
Force push. Yeah. I would say force push, probably, right?
And how does that plan?
He's all.
How does that plan dovetail with Leia's plan of trying to rescue Han? Dovetail with like Lando's plan of I'm going to go and do a reconnaissance. It doesn't seem like any of them were talking to each other. This was not exactly Ocean's 11 plan to save Han. It just kind of been like, I'll do my way, you do your way. We'll see if it works. Oh shit, we all ended up on a boat together. Good for us. Now let's do some flippity flips and hope R2 doesn't have a platter on his head. Like it all just kind of worked out. They got lucky.
At this point, it was the 80s. Things were wild, you know. There was a lot of coke going on then.
Right.
Chris on Twitch says, "Hey man, it's Skywalker's 11. Let's do like a cross fandom version of that where we do Skywalker's 11 and." Because let's be sure, like Danny Ocean's or whoever it was, Danny. What was George Clooney's character or Sinatra's character?
Billy Ocean, right? Yeah.
Billy Ocean's character, like their plans weren't any good either. Like those plans got fucked up all the time.
Well, that's the point.
I know. Just I guess you don't get the
but
movie.
We do need like Han or someone to just constantly be eating shrimp or something. Like that's the one thing we need in that.
Right, like always with a shrimp cocktail. Like,
all right. So
except instead of shrimp, it's a frog in a bowl. It's like a little.
Yes, blue milk on the side. Yeah, just chugging it, getting a stash.
So Matt Kelly is in the chat, and he's invited you, Scott, to be on One Hit Thunder, who our friend Chris Folios from Punchline hosts. Let's do it, guys. It's International Podcast Day. We're going to be talking a little bit about the podcast network here on Geekscape. And Scott, how you been? Let's promote some of the stuff you've been doing because I look up. You've moved back to California during a pandemic. Last time Scott was on the show was last summer. We were broadcasting out of his Brooklyn recording studio, creative studio, basement of his house, whatever it was. But we were in Brooklyn, and now you're living back in the OC where you grew up, and you're doing this Twitch channel and playing music once or twice or several times a week on Scott Klopfenstein's Twitch TV. Dude, what is that all about? Because I think you're really good at it. The subscriptions have gone up very fast, and it's kind of a pro setup. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, I mean, so when things started to become more interesting, when the pandemic kind of kicked off, my wife and I, we've been talking about moving back to California for a while, but I'm usually the one who's pressing it. I'm like, we gotta get it. My family is here, my brothers are here, and most of my friends are here.
And Scott, real quick, I did say that. You corrected me that it was Danny Ocean in the Ocean's 11 films. I said Billy Ocean is the singer.
No, you said Danny Ocean. I said Billy Ocean because I thought it was funny, and then
so now because you tricked me.
Yeah.
And you're the next one to get the Greasy Weasels. You got to sing your rendition of "Get Out of My Dreams, Get Into My Millennium Falcon," as Atomic Bun Bun said on Twitch. Go ahead.
Yeah.
But
that's
all you got for us.
What's that?
You got to do it. Get out of my dreams.
I got to sing the whole thing?
Just the chorus. Just
right. Only if you want. Only do things that you want to do.
Yeah, see, I'm supposed to be on vocal rest today.
Oh, is that right?
That's a huge deal.
Yeah, actually, because I'm doing the Twitch like 4 days a week, and I do it for like 2.5 to 3 hours, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, well, there are people who so this is where I'm amazed by the entire thing is, I mean, I think Twitch has only been doing, really supporting like a music community for like 1.5 years, 2 years, something like that. Sure. But yeah, you have I've met this kid named Mitch Bruzzy, who's in Australia, who is, I don't know why I call him a kid. He's a grown man. But he has like the spirit of a kid. He's like the youngest grown man. And he's a drummer, and he streams for like 6 hours straight and just plays drums for 6 hours. And it's the most bananas thing.
Wow.
And I mean, and there's, I've met some really wonderful musicians who they do really long, like 4 to 5 hour sessions. And some of them are only doing like a couple times a week. And so we do anywhere, like we usually do like an hour, 2 to 2.5 hours, 4 times a week. But it's hard. Like I'm starting to get I have to get my voice back in shape. I'm starting to get my playing back in shape because I took a long hiatus.
Yeah.
But so when my wife decided, she's like, let's move back. Because we were living in a small 900 square foot apartment, which for New York is large, but when there's
right
4 of you, and there's 1 bathroom, it's tight.
Yeah.
So,
and there's a pandemic going on, so it feels even tighter.
Tighter. And so we kind of, within the course of like 3 to 4 months, we made it happen. And when we moved back, I got back in touch with G. Scott Barrett, who is, been one of my dearest and nearest friends for 25 years. It's just he's an incredibly innovative individual. And he also has just a DIY ethic about music and art. It's like, do everything yourself until you can't, and then find someone who believes in things the way you believe in things to then take up that mantle so you can continue to focus on what's important. But so he said, I was doing some kids music on YouTube, and the hard thing about YouTube is they've changed the rules so much, and especially doing kids music, like you can't monetize that. But I was making, before the world closed, I was making a lot of money doing kids music shows. I had like a big following in Brooklyn that I was doing like 4 shows a week and making a decent living.
Nice. But
I kind of stopped focusing on my own professional stuff. Like I'd done some touring here and there, in contact with the Pick It Up, the ska documentary that came out. Was that last year that it came out?
Yeah, dude. I'm telling you. Like,
it's crazy.
It's insane. Parasite won the Best Picture Oscar this year.
It did, 2020.
I remember that.
Long time ago.
Do you remember Tiger King?
Yeah.
From our childhood?
That was the beginning. Yeah.
So when I got here, we were going to look to we did a few YouTube streams, and we just felt like the thing that was missing was community. Mm-hmm. And the ability to like monetize it, right? Because like, as crass as that sounds, like I want to be able to put as much effort and energy into playing music as I can to bring something to people that means something not only to me but to them. But part of that is that I have to be able to, I've got a wife and kids, I've got a roof that I got to put over people's heads. So we were trying to figure out a way to do it that felt more like crowdsourcing and less like shilling.
And you haven't like trained the kids to work? You haven't like put them to work?
Haven't put a band together?
I have used my nephew as a co-host
Okay.
for the show a few times, and I had Sadie, my youngest, come and co-host the show with me one night.
What I'm saying is like you need to get them like a textile factory or something, because their little hands, once they get bigger, like they can't sew properly the same way. Like that's why you got to get them like on an assembly line early.
Jonathan.
Because once their hands get big,
they're the ones who got me. I'm now during the day I'm a teacher.
Oh yeah.
I'm teaching fourth grade and I'm teaching first grade. I'm more of a substitute teacher because they've got actual teachers on screens, and then I'm just sitting there making sure that they get all
the information in. I feel like, especially as artists in the pandemic, there's like several like ways that like people have been like, oh, like maybe we could corporatize like this kind of thing so that like you could still do your art, but it's also still fun. Like I'm hosting games for a remote team building company at the moment, and I'm doing like 3 to 5 a day, and it's like performing an hour show every single time.
What does that mean?
What?
So like a corporation wants to do a team building exercise, and they have their team members show up to like an online game session that you are like the moderator of.
I'm like the host, and I'm just like, hey everybody, how's it going? What's up, Ellen from Missouri? Yeah, all that nonsense. It's one of those things that like we're trying to find ways to like get our artistic outlet while also making money, but it still feels like shilling because it's just like, well, you know what? At least I'm making money for this. But I love that you've incorporated this kind of design to like crowdsource and still make it your own thing, and not make it something that like is somebody else's vision that just kind of shoehorns your talents into it.
Scott, are you going to do the Billy Ocean Millennium Falcon song tonight on the Twitch?
I'm not streaming tonight. We're not streaming. It's tomorrow. So like the days in between, I don't like today. I don't sing at all.
Well, just rest your voice till tomorrow.
But
I do love that you're having to rest your voice and you're doing an hour-long podcast at the moment.
Talking is one thing. Well, so actually, and Thursdays are tough because I start my day at 5 a.m. So I do a kids show stream in the morning. That's for New York, right? Is where I started it. So I have a kids music following that's in New York, but now it's spread all over the place. But so the show in New York was at 10 o'clock in the morning. So now I have to be on YouTube at 7 in the morning, which means I need to be at my studio at 5 in the morning.
Well, don't worry. I've been doing Geekscape for 15 years. And Big Yanks in Long Island, who's out right now. When we started this, he was 7 years old. So your audience in New York will become older. And now it's 9 p.m. in New York, and Big Yanks has grown up with us. He has the same maturity level he did at 7, but so do I. So let's just keep everything in perspective. This is something you've been doing. Like, I want to welcome you to the neighborhood of online content, Scott. Like,
thank you. I dig it.
It's something that we've been doing for a long time. Welcome, and you will see your audience grow up, and then start to like hang out together, then start hooking up together, then start having kids together, and then like start having divorces together, and then start like
whoa.
It gets crazy. Not
pushing that.
All right, like trust me, you're gonna get it. I can't wait to listen to that Billy Ocean rendition of the Millennium Falcon song tomorrow night. Though there is a song you do on your stream though, and I want to talk.
I was just about to mention it.
What? Scott. Here's how Scott and I met. We go back to the last episode with Scott and I, when Scott was on Geekscape. We talk about how we met back in '97.
And my crumpled pirate map version of Kevin Smith's.
We met on the
Iron Man
Fish tour van, and Scott was like, "Oh, you're into comics? I'm into comics. Check out this comic book. It's Kevin Smith's #1 of Daredevil." And he pulled it out, and I was like, "That is either a pirate map or something you just wiped your ass with," because I've never seen a comic book treated that badly. Scott, you were in a dark place in your late teens, and you're better now. And I'm glad you're with us. But it wasn't until like I did videos for Real Big Fish that you and I were actually became like brothers.
Yeah.
And you started doing music for like some of my original content stuff. You did songs for Singledom. You did some music for Hear the Prophecy, which I just found like a bunch of old footage. I'm going to cut it into a new short. That's what I'm doing right now. And I got to tell you, like, watching your stream, you play the Lando's Lament song, and I'm like, did you write Lando's Lament for Singledom?
I did. I wrote it for the cafe scene because they were talking about Lando. And so I was like, why not? Well, and so, yeah, they were talking about Lando, and they were talking about like not knowing how many penises he might have.
Sure.
And I was like, and what came to my mind was, I was like, look, when he was flying with Nine Nub into the Death Star, at the end of Jeddah, I was like, what was he thinking about? Especially, and I was like, there's got to be a lady back on Bespin that like at least one.
I was like, at least one. Yeah,
maybe some dudes.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like, as much as I know Lando Calrissian, like I'm like, it's probably some ladies, some dudes, maybe some other like, you know.
That one was pretty popping, I'm sure.
Alien, or non-binary.
You find out that like he was with the freaking droid.
Yeah,
like do you guys think there's a big debate in like a Bespin orgy of who shot first? You know what I mean? Like who came first?
I think Lucas definitely would have cut that one out.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I think it was definitely Lobot. Like Lobot definitely, like his whole head device, he could have controlled like when he blasted. But Scott, I love that you're still playing Lando's Lament, and there are a couple songs that you've written for my like visual film stuff, and I still think that you and G Scott should like put those songs together and release them for the audience, because there's some of the popular songs, not that they aren't the most popular, there's some of the popular songs in your set. And
well, we do want to release the recording of Lando's Lament. I've been trying to decide whether we're going to use the original recording or re-record it though.
Oh, dude, don't do it. I just listened to
Don't re-record it.
Well, I just listened to the lead singer of Face to Face on Krista Make's podcast. Krista Make's the lead singer of Less Than Jake, who I think have an album coming out tomorrow. They're being very cagey, but I can't wait. If Less Than Jake has that album coming out. I had Krista Makes on the show right before the shutdown, and if y'all Geekscapists are new to this and you're big Less Than Jake fans, go back to early, I think mid-January, February in the Geekscape feed, and you'll find a Krista Makes episode. And also if you go back like a month and a half ago, you'll find a Vinny Fiorello episode. So that was fun getting more Less Than Jake on the podcast. But he played me one of the new Less Than Jake songs. It's awesome. It's got the whoa-whoas on it. But he just had the lead singer of Face to Face on talking about how they had to re-record one of their songs for Big Choice because the record label is like, we want it. And it just never had the same magic as that original. And there are a lot of like re-recordings that just didn't have that magic. I remember when we did the Real Big Fish live album, I remember Aaron was talking about like re-recording some stuff or whatever the deal was with Mojo, right? Whatever it was, there was the idea of like re-recording stuff either with the live album or something else. But does it ever really capture that same magic?
No, it never does. I mean, well, and so, I mean, I actually have strong opinions on this, which is funny that I even thought about re-recording, but musicians are not necessarily qualified to judge what does or does not sound good once they've released something. Mm-hmm. Like this even goes for early releasing of demos and things. It's like, because you can't judge how people emotionally attach to things, right? I think about Turn the Radio Off often enough. And if I look back at that from my objective point of view, I can pick out all the things that I would change about it, all of the things that I would wish we had done differently. But it's not even about me at that point. Like, this is something that means so much more to the people who heard it when it first came out and grew up with it, the people who are hearing it now as a part of the scene. Like, it has a life of its own that if I am to, go back and correct horn lines that I played in a certain way, like, I'm almost disregarding. What's that?
No, finish what you're saying.
I'm almost like disregarding people's feelings towards something. Like the fact that it had like.
Are we talking about George Lucas again?
We kind of. Yeah.
Did we just find ourselves talking about George Lucas again?
Just had a callback. Yeah. That's great.
The entire time you were saying that stuff, I was like, oh yeah, imagine that, going back and changing the things that you originally released years after the audience has created an emotional attachment to it.
Yeah. I mean, making art is a test, right? Like, and you get it as right as you get it. And if you go back, it's like, sure, you can make it perfect, but like things aren't valuable because they're perfect. They're valued because they're flawed and unique
and relatable.
Yeah. Like, I mean, as far as art goes, in my personal opinion, you know, it's, you know, can a robot recreate a Pollock? Probably, but it won't have like that same thing that is undefinably. I mean, I don't know if other people are emotionally like.
We don't talk about robots here because we have a robot living in my computer.
Oh no, I know. I talk. We have one on our show. We have the Nightbot.
Robots. Yeah,
we love the Nightbot. We don't talk ill of the Nightbot.
And we have IncelBot, who's a pretty aggressive robot AI that hates
me. Yeah, he hates me.
IncelBot thinks he should be the co-host, and he's oftentimes messed up my audio and turned the show into digital trash because he's an incel and he doesn't think Katie's a real gamer. So
sad day. But you know, robots, they don't have the same emotional capacity or experience in life to give us those true art pieces or have that experience with actual video games.
Shout out to Donuts in Manila off of Twitch for throwing up.
Hey, Donuts! What's up, buddy?
And he threw up the Destructoid emoji, and I used to hang on Destructoid back in the day. Also, Christina Tassio in Orange County. Geekscape is from the beginning. Thank you for spending 15 years with me, Christina. She says, man, my boyfriend and I watch Scott stream pretty much every time he's on. Every time he plays that Lando song, we tear up, either because it's really sad, Lando's Lament, or because it's funny and all that. But I love that song, dude. Let's see.
It's an emotional tune.
Ben Saunders says, some of the Real Big Fish re-recordings are great. It's cool to have multiple versions of things to choose from, different takes on something. And I agree with you there, Ben. I never felt when Lucas was doing the special editions or any of that stuff that like he was coming into my house, taking away VHS tapes that had like the gooey blue screen around the TIE fighters and stuff like that. I still love the sincerity of those original Star Wars releases or any of that stuff. They're never taking that stuff away from you, but yeah, why not both? You know, especially in a day like this. They just re-released God Loves, Man Kills, the X-Men storyline that Chris Claremont did as the original trade paperback in the early 80s, where it's like you know, it's like the religious preacher dude is like hunting the X-Men and he's trying to trap Xavier so he can kill all the X-Men, and Magneto is like, this is why we can't coexist. And it's a great classic storyline. They took parts of it for X2, the X-Men movie. But I was just rereading it, and Chris Claremont went back with the original artist and added like bookend storylines with Kitty Pryde in it. And it was really well done, but they tried to do it in the same artistic style. And during the pandemic, I've seen that Marvel and I think DC has been doing that a lot. They just re-released today in comic book stores. I was in there and they did Giant Size X-Men, the one that that Dave Cockrum and Chris Claremont did, where they introduced the new X-Men like Wolverine and all that stuff because the original X-Men got kidnapped on Krakoa. They just reintroduced that stuff. That was the original X-Men stuff in Giant Size X-Men, where they introduced Wolverine and Storm and the International Squad, like the Phase 2 X-Men. But they integrated a lot of these stories that took place in that time, where you find out, oh, there was a third Summers brother. You know, it wasn't just Havoc, and you know, or they introduced like some of the stuff that people have done about that storyline later, and it's all in one flush edition of Giant Size X-Men. I don't mind when people do that because it doesn't remove that original, as Ben says.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But do you feel like there's also kind of a point where we take a little bit of our own current time and we put it a little force back into something that's maybe a little bit, I don't know, like with Lucas and some of the CG stuff, you know, bringing in some of the lounge singer with the triple tits, you know, and putting that into like making it a little bit more adult and a little less kid friendly, you know, like trying to make Star Wars have just a little more edge instead of like just being kind of the thing for all ages, all family members. Don't you think that like at some point there seems to be a line where like if we cross that, we start pulling examples or pulling tone or something from a current age and putting it into something that it really doesn't belong.
Yeah, you've taken the art out of the context of the time in which it was made.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it's again, like it's the same. I think it's the clear example of like adding a few little CG creatures here and there is not the same as Greedo shooting first.
Yes, that's true.
You know what I mean? Like you've taken a character now, you've taken a beloved character who had to.
You talking about Greedo or are you talking about Han?
You're talking about Han. Like removing Han.
I love, the beloved character Greedo.
I love it.
Yeah. Who's but like removing Han's like
who's coolness
180 come to Jesus moment. Like you've watered it. You've watered it down. You've homogenized it, and it's like that's where like.
What's next?
For me, especially, like
he's a drug smuggler. Dude's a drug smuggler.
Yeah, like I listen back, like so, like in the reference of like we'll say like turn the radio off, which again, like we went and re-recorded tunes, and it's like and it's fine, and I know why we did that, and it's great. But there's also like when I go back and I listen to that album, which I do, like my singing style was totally different. The way I played horn was different. Like the way I approached everything, because it had this energy and this, I mean, there just of being 19 years old and so insecure, you can only cover it with like the most incredible spastic like behavior and ego. And like
drop in the years since, have you noticed that your voice changed? Because I saw on your Twitch before the Twitch, you texted me and you were like, and I was like, what's your secret, Scott? How do you keep the sound consistent? And do you still put your nuts in a clamp before your Twitch things?
Always. Yeah.
Like this is why Geekscape is a valuable commodity to those of you.
Sure.
I let you know more about the people you're fans of than you probably would know. I bring you behind the scenes to see the wizard behind the curtain, and that's just something that was between Scott and I. Now you know that Scott uses these clamps.
Little brass clamps.
49s.
Little brass clamps. And
beautiful.
He tunes them not unlike a guitar. If he needs a little more falsetto, he just
cranks it up a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that sounds delightful. No wonder you're on vocal rest. You're also on nut rest.
Yeah. The amazing thing is if on listening back to Turn the Radio Off, my voice is deeper.
Really?
It was pre-clamp.
Pre-clamps.
It was pre-clamp.
Yeah.
That's why you tore up that comic book.
Yeah.
You were an angry youth.
Yeah. But yeah, all my like because I'm putting so much forward, like all those vocal, they're all like for some reason like my technique back then was really poor and it was just all lower.
Do you feel like you were kind of forcing the deepness of your voice or what?
No, I think I was just forcing everything.
Okay.
Like I hadn't figured out how to pull back and add a little finesse and then or also just tweak it. You know, it's like anything, it's an instrument. Like you figure out how to play it better as you do it. Like, you know. It's all
experience. So, Is there anything else besides kind of like the tone of your voice? Like what else has changed as you've grown older? And like what is it that you've kind of fine-tuned specifically?
Kind of everything. Like that's been the neat thing about getting back on playing like 4 times a week is I get to kind of reinvent like I have a really strict vocal things that I do. I try not to like shout a lot,
which is great. Kids, not shouting. Super easy, I'm sure.
My children are very much like me, which means they are infuriating. But they're hilarious at the same time. So you're just like, oh, you're hilarious. Get out of here. But it's I do a lot of warming up and warming down, both like instrument wise and vocal wise. I try to eat right, exercise, that sort of thing, which these were not things like I thought about at all when I was in my 20s at all. And then maybe getting into my 30s, the wear and tear of being on the road for 15 years or whatever starts to like show up. But yeah, so now, I mean, after taking a good 10-year hiatus from really focusing on music at all, like I was like, oh, I'm in my 40s now. Like the body is different, but it's been coming back. Like the voice is starting to come back. It's like it starts to die at the end of sets. But like I have good days, I have bad days, but I have good days and bad days on the road too. I like the fact that it's an inconsistent instrument, and it really has all to do with like what you're going to put into it, both emotionally and mentally.
Yeah,
that's what I love about the Twitch streaming as well. Is it's like, I never know what I'm going to do. Like
I had this show scripted to a science. This Geekscape. I'm like, this is what I do. I'll tell you the process. I discovered this when I was in Tibet. I developed a method, and I put it on an ancient scroll, and I write down all my stupid fucking jokes that nobody likes and my dumb comments that derail an in-depth conversation like this one. I put it all on there, right? And I put it on this ancient scroll. I actually had it tattooed on human skin, and then my own. I take
no
it.
other way.
I take it. I cut swaths of it off, like little swaths of it, and I put it on a little wheel and I spin it. And that's the stupid comment I'm going to say. That stupid comment, little story, like this last one. That's how I do it. So I don't know how it's. I mean, I don't know how it's going to happen. I like to consider.
Is there one thing that you've like been surprised in your own self during your Twitch stream, Scott? Like, okay, bye, John. Just you and me now, Scott. We're just gonna do this together, man.
He's like, you know what, that it didn't work.
Smoke bomb, and he's out. But is there anything that you've surprised your own self with during the Twitch streams?
I mean, to be honest.
Jonathan, get back in.
I'm like, I am unbelievably insecure, and so
artist, who isn't? Who isn't?
Yeah. Like it's like I actually, believe it or not, like I was worried, and I still worry, like before every show, that like maybe I don't have it. Mm-hmm. Like maybe it's gone today. Maybe it's just like
talented people I've ever met in my entire life. I think you're a genius. I think you're an actual genius. And the only thing keeping your insecurity, like the only thing keeping you in check is your insecurity. The only thing keeping me in check is my stupidity. And the stupidity allows me from having the insecurity kick in because I'm too stupid to actually acknowledge that I can't do something. You're too smart. And your intelligence is what's keeping you back because you're like, oh, I don't know about that. Oh, geez. Oh, no. Oh, boy. Turn it off. Be dumb like me, Scott. You'll be unstoppable.
I know. It really, I mean, like I had this moment yesterday. So I was sitting in our living room and crying. As I have found that a good mid-afternoon cry is so helpful.
That was before the presidential debates even.
It's just all of a sudden I start weeping and my family goes, oh, Dad's having his time.
Yeah.
And my wife came up and she was like, what's going on? I was just like, I have all this fear. And I just started talking with her and she's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, what are you talking about? She's like, that's dumb.
Whoa.
And I was like,
yeah.
Okay. What is that like to hear that?
I mean, I think I need it. I absolutely need it. I have a great, like my creative partner, Katya McMullen, who I did theater with in New York and I'm doing theater with here. And we talk every day. She's this great writer. And she was like, she's the person who got me back to work when I was in New York. I had kind of given up doing music altogether. And she like called me up at a certain point and was like, hey, I need you to write music for a play that I just scrapped 90% of, and I'm going to write a bunch of it tonight. And then I need you to come up to Vermont and workshop it with me for 3 days and write the music for it. And then we're going to put it on stage. And I was like,
wow, cool.
Okay.
There's no backing out of this.
I wrote a bunch of music for it, like just without thinking. I'm like, oh, I said yes to something. Why I'm such an idiot. And then I got up there and she's like, so I think and I wrote it all on piano.
Sure.
And she's like, well, I think I want you to do it on guitar. I was like, oh, good. So everything I did doesn't have any, never mind.
Oh, no.
But like, I got caught up in the creative process in the moment and like in the thing that I love, which is to like be around people creative people who are passionate and excited and willing to throw shit to the wall and see what sticks and what doesn't.
Yeah.
And like that night we did a read through, and then there's a song through the whole piece that they keep alluding to, and it was like stressing me out because it's supposed to be this gorgeous like lullaby piece. And I'm like, you know, and I had these little notes throughout the script, and we're doing the sit down, and oh my God, hold on. Hold on, that phone call just came through.
Okay.
And
but do you feel like it like kind of forces you to be in the moment and kind of get out of your own way?
Well, yeah, I mean that's the funny thing is it's like I am most happy like and free when I'm playing and performing for people and contributing to them. Like that's what that's the thing that about Twitch streaming that I love. Like I still look at it as like a show where I'm showing up for everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I've got a great supportive, wonderful community that like shows up every single time. And some of them wake up super early in the morning. Some of them stay up really late at night to watch. And it's like, you know, it's so beautiful. And it means the world to me. And like what I get to bring to them, I hope, I feel like there's no way I can give them what they give me.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how in the world they could possibly get out of it what I get out of it, but my goal is to try.
Yeah.
And
longtime fans are going on that road with you. You know what I mean? Like Ben is on Twitch, and Ben Saunders says, I've actually noticed Scott's voice getting stronger over the streams, which is cool. And like, you have forced gym time now, dude. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And Ben comes back and says, like, it's 5 a.m. for me. I try to turn up when I'm awake. You know, I mean, I don't know where the heck this guy is. It ain't
Ben Saunders is awesome. I love Ben.
Ben, vote in America anyway. Anyway, go ahead and vote in our election anyway. No, I'm kidding, Ben. You can't do that. I can't.
If you're in America,
but you wouldn't be because it's 5 a.m. Like
5 a.m. Yeah.
Tell your American friends to vote. Anyway, no, it's got like I've always seen that you're somebody who's pretty good with deadlines, and you've always stepped up. Like when I've needed you to step up and do something, and I've always been blown away by your brilliance. But like we don't see that stuff for ourselves. No. You know, we have like the Dunning-Kruger effect kick in, where our analytical abilities are only to the extent of our analytical abilities. We cannot see outside of our own little mental cages. The perspective is only our own little prison.
It's that 4-window thing, that 4-window diagram of like what it is that you see in others, what others see in you, what you can see of others, and what others see of you, and what no one sees, not you or others, could see. And sometimes that thing where it's like people can see something about you that it's just like you can't analytically comprehend, but they're getting so much out of it. And what a beautiful way to like see that kind of come to fruition, especially on the stream, and like getting so many more subscriptions and like so many people that are vying for you.
You're still being weird. Yeah. If you were on there and you weren't weird, I'd be like, what the hell is this?
I mean, the funny thing is too, like, I mean, you know, it's like the person that, I mean, like right now, obviously, like this is not the person who shows up on the streams, right? Like it kind of is, but like,
sure, I'm sure you have a show mode face, you know.
Yeah, right. But it's like so funny.
Can we get a guitar?
How that just turns right, just happens. You know what I mean? Like, and part of it is because I know who's, a lot of times I know who's out there, and I think that helps too. Like again, it's the communal aspect of it. For me, music and entertainment and the whole thing, it's always been about community. Like if there's no community to it, if there's no like people, if it's just shilling and commoditizing and turning it into a fucking business, like I don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, like there's a certain which, and I've been told there's a support group that I've been asked to look at as far as my own self-value. But
what do you mean?
Well, just like, you know, like it's hard to like I always like I honestly like feel weird
asking for money.
getting, it's weird for me. Like I remember, so when I started doing the Littlest Man Band, right? I was having a hard time with a lot of things, and a friend of mine said, "Hey, I know somebody you can call to talk about like doing independent music in a way that is both like
fulfilling,
socially, emotionally, and kind of spiritually like free of tether."
Sure.
And like, and so they gave me Ian Mackay from Fugazi's phone number.
Yeah, that, which is insane. And that's
amazing. And so I got to have a conversation with someone who's not only like an artistic idol, but also a business idol. And we talked so much. And like at a certain point I was like, maybe I should just give this away for free. And he's like, no. He's like, he's like, there needs to be a place where you meet each other. He's like, you meet your audience and your audience meets you. He's like, because otherwise you're just putting, like, if you don't ask people to value something, they won't.
Right.
And then you're just creating useless plastic, and the world doesn't need more of that.
It's tough when we like grow up and we're basically, you know, it's like, I will do Geekscape for free, but the other things I'm not going to do for free, like the hosting or the this and that. For you know, Geekscape is my baby. It is my like audience aggregate. It is the tool that I use to put things into other projects. For instance, Geekscapists, we just launched at a film festival this past weekend, Chasing Fletcher Allen, a movie that you all helped crowdsource. You all helped. Katie's in it for a bit, and that is also, you know, that is something that was a financial thing, and we raised money off of it. But you know, this Geekscape is pretty much my only like loss leader audience aggregate thing. But I'm with you, dude. When you think that like when it's something that you're willing to do for free because you love it, and it's like what gave you your voice and like what your passion's been the whole time, it is tough to turn that corner and start to bend on it. And it, you know, and I say this to him because I just want the damn out. I just want more music out of him. But like one of my songwriting heroes, Dr. Frank, I'm always like, dude, why don't you crowdfund your next album? Why don't you crowdfund your next album? And Dr. Frank feels weird about the next Mr. T Experience album being crowdfunded. I'm like, dude, think of it as pre-sales. Just think of it as pre-sales. And like what you're doing now, Scott, is just an extension of, you know, what you'd be doing without a pandemic. You know what I mean? You would be. I remember I go down to Orange County and you're playing that little coffee shop in downtown, like Santa Ana or something. Like you'd be doing that if you weren't in a pandemic.
I'd be gigging for sure. That was part of why we wanted to do it. I was like, I miss gigging. I miss playing gigs.
And I think that there will be an aspect of this after the pandemic is done, and experiencing a film festival online like we did this past weekend with our film. Like I think that we are all learning that there needs to be an online, you know, for profit version of a lot of these experiences that we used to have only in live. Like I think that concert venues, coffee shops who will have people gigging, things like that, they have to have some form of like a web stream webcam where you have a ticketed event for people to come in and see Scott Klopfenstein. You know, these dudes are in freaking the Philippines over here. This dude Donuts in Manila who watches you on like Twitch. Listen, he's like us. He's barely got a functional democracy over there. And he's willing to show up at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., stuff his face full of donuts and wake up and do some stretches just to watch you. You know, that guy would be like paying like a couple bucks to get into like a stream to watch you, you know, play in Santa Ana in a coffee shop on a Friday night, whatever it is. Like, you know,
well, Donuts is a great artist too. It's like, you know, Donuts has done like a lot of the like graphics and stuff, and like for us, and like Donuts is awesome. Yeah,
Donuts,
and that's the other thing. Like,
let's do some t-shirts. Donuts, let's do.
Yeah, talk to Donuts.
He's I talk to Donuts every morning. I love.
I think that's the thing I love about it too. Is it's like,
to eat you. Goodbye, my friend. You lived a good life. I shove the donut in my mouth.
Like the mods that we have for our Twitch channel are fantastic. Like Scott and I can only do so much, and Scott does most of it. Like I show up and go, "You want me to be a clown?"
Here we go.
Tell me how to jump behind like two monitors. And he's like sweating profusely because it's like 90 degrees in their studio, and like, you know, and it's like nothing's working, and he's freaking out. And we have like we have these great like mods who are helping out, and it feels like being a part of a scene.
Of course.
And I think that's, you know, that's what I love about Twitch on the whole.
But it is not in and of itself payment. It is a form of payment.
Yeah.
An audience aggregate is a form of payment, but it is not. Unless
but like I'm in the studio right now recording some stuff, and it's all covered by Twitch.
What you recording?
Donations. What
you recording, man?
I can't talk about it.
No, what the heck?
No, I legit can't talk about it.
You've been on
Geekscape.
You've been on Geekscape 17 times over the last 15 years. They ain't
legit.
For you and I to talk about. The only reason I brought you on is because Katie might pull some new stuff out of you, and now you're clamming up on me. Come on, man! Don't you put this up to no vocal rest? You tell me some secrets right now. These kids,
I legit can't talk about it.
This guy wakes up in freaking Manila. They ain't got nothing in Manila except like a bunch of banana trees and stuff like that. And now he's showing up.
Do you want me to pull a button on you? Will you shut up, man? Will you shut up?
Stop your yammering.
I'm being silly.
No, but that honestly, like when you get to a where like some of your work is secretive, that's a very exciting moment. Like even though it's like, yes, we want to know exactly what it is you're working on, what kind of thing you're working on, what even genre of thing you're working on. But that's an exciting moment that like you're in a place right now that you're working on something so exciting that like you can't even tell us the bare minimum details. Like not even a little hint, like not even a little taste.
Scott and I have been such beautiful friends for so long that I hate to tell you, Twitch streamers, we will probably hang up and then I'll get an email with an MP3 of a demo. And I'll be like, oh my God, this is great. And I will not share it. Because because the truth is like you never actually know when some of this stuff will be released. And when you did this last EP, this last 7-inch, Scott, I'd heard those songs for 10 years, it felt like. And then, and then it took you and G Scott a while for those things to like actually get recorded the way you liked them and released the way you liked them and put that whole thing together and make it worthwhile. So like, dude, I like being part of your creative inner circle because you do shit that I can never think. Like the music thing is not my thing. And it's,
all right. I was always told that I had 2 left feet and couldn't sing. So I highly appreciate that.
You are a gem. Geekscape is, if for some reason you're just now listening to Scott for the first time and discovering him, go check him out on Twitch and subscribe to the Twitch channel. It's twitch.tv, Scott Klopfenstein. You should know how to spell it. You should know Scott because he's been on Geekscape so much. He truly is a brother to me. I'm so glad you moved back to Southern California. I love that I got to see you right before the pandemic, like in the shutdown.
I know.
And I was like, it's so glad that you're here. We're going to hang out all the time. Shut down.
Well,
right. Did you see the Taco Adobes back?
Yeah. Like Scott has this place in Orange that we go and we get Mexican food at. And it is right like a month or two into the pandemic, or no, when Scott moved back in August, he was like, dude, I got bad news. It's gone. It's closed. And he texted me today and said that it's back. So I don't know how to socially distantly like go down to Orange County and eat that stuff with you quite yet. But if we do takeout, I've been tested I get tested once a month and I'll probably ramp it up. But I have been doing socially distant picnics where like we'll do takeout and we'll sit across a yard or a field from each other and we'll do the socially distant picnic. And I think Heidi has been saying that just to keep me from having to eat with her. Like she's like, like I try and go into bed and she's like, sorry, 6 feet.
Yeah.
6 feet, Jonathan.
What do you guys get at this place? Because I mean, if you need someone to hang out with to get Mexican food, I'm always down.
Dude, Taco Adobe is my favorite. It is my favorite. And Katie, you got to come down with us. On tour now, who I'm guessing is G Scott.
It is
on Twitch. Just busted out with Jonathan. When are we going to bring you down to OC? Well,
you got to come on our show. Our Sundays are our guest nights.
You don't
Sundays are guest nights.
You want Katie? She can run you through a game or something.
Yeah, no, that's true. No, I actually used to host Dave & Buster's football stuff down in OC at the beginning before the pandemic hit.
I bet that was fun.
It was so much fun. I know a lot about football now.
G Scott and anybody who watches the Twitch, like I'll come down on a Sunday and do a little bit of Twitch hangout with you. I saw that Ryland got to do it, and I can't let Ryland get all the fun. as much as I love Ryland. I'd love to come and hang out on Twitch.
We had Ryland. We had our friend Mark Yeager come down and talk about. He's a composer friend of ours who, he just got back from talking to the European Space Agency about composing some music based on data from space. He met with like.
You have. I'm not coming on your show. Like, what the hell am I going to talk about? I'm going to come down there and be like, let's tell some jokes about putting some nut clamps on. I got nothing to offer, Scott. I'm making up lies about going.
You can't bring up NASA and then bring up London.
We're really excited to have Jonathan on the show. He's going to come and say stupid stuff. Like, what? That's garbage. You don't want that.
It'll be great. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Don't
sell yourself short. You could probably
have you sing a song, or
That's my art.
There you go.
Matt Kelly says, in honor of International Podcast Day, how about you list every show on the Geekscape network? And then Matt says, I can type it out if you need. It's a lot right now. And it is a lot right now. And Matt Kelly, you are an amazing producer, and I'm so glad that you are my friend and basically a family member. He's been a part of this since Geekscape episode 3, way back in 2006, I believe. He's a music guy, and he's a fan of yours, Scott. He's been a fan of yours.
I know Matt.
Met me, but honestly, International Podcast Day, Matt also hosts Horror Movie Night, which I think is our most successful show. I'm going to say it. I love Horror Movie Night. I might be on the episode this weekend talking about Chud. If you go to Horror Movie Night and you like the stupidity coming out of my mouth, go subscribe to Horror Movie Night. You can hear us talk about Chud, the 1984 hit. But as Matt says, he says, in addition to Geekscape, we have the Bulletproof podcast, which is all about action movies. They talked about Stone Cold with Brian Bosworth on the most recent episode. 91 Donkey Lane, which is an improvised storyline podcast, which is freaking hilarious. Analog Jones and the Temple of Film, which is basically a dude, Steven, going and finding bad movies out of like yard sales and watching them and then analyzing them. Amazing. Do you still like this movie? Which is a pretty awesome podcast done by our good friend in Canada. He's a DJ. He's an MC, really. And they find a movie from their youth that they like, and they rewatch it. And they're like, do we still like this movie? Sometimes the movies end up crap. We have Matt Mania, which is a wrestling podcast, my favorite episode of, where they talk about their favorite episode of a TV show, the Horror Movie Night, which I told you about. Matt Kelly, he hosts it. My favorite episode of Horror Movie Night, One Hit Thunder, I've talked about that one. MFK Ultimate, which is like Marry, Fuck, Kill Ultimate, where you talk, you marry, fuck, kill different things. I think Katie should be on that one.
Oh, I'm in.
Saturday Morning Showdown, Let's Play Arcade, and Xbox Game Passengers. Maybe they still exist. We need another video game show, Katie, and I think you should host it for us.
Let's do it.
And if anybody listening to this likes podcasting, has thought about podcasting, and you're like, hey, I want to talk some geek stuff, send Matt at geekscape.net an email, and maybe we can start your podcasting career like we started Matt's, and then he turned into a monster.
By the way, I don't know if you saw me randomly looking off to the screen, but we have a mosquito somewhere in this house, and it just
that's the worst.
It just flew by me like 2 or 3 times. Just
Katie, don't do it, Katie. Do not do it. Katie,
kill it.
No, to kill it. Are you out of your mind?
Because it's bitten me so many times.
Katie, well, it's already bit you, so I'm about to negate what I was about to say, but you don't know that mosquito wasn't irradiated. And listen, this is Geekscape. I let every bug bite me. I'm telling you, I let rats bite me. No. Listen, this is how I live my life, Geekscape. So let me just give it to you straight. I grew up on these comics, and I saw that these animals or science projects gone awry or all this stuff, it all led to people becoming super heroic versions of themselves. And I looked at myself and I was like, well, you're okay. But maybe if you go through life and let things bite you, like I try and like if I ever see a truck that has like possibly radioactive isotopes, back, I try and derail the trucks. I try to throw a rock at it. I lean into every accident in my life, which may be why I'm a human one. And I'm
throw a rock at it, a la Luke Skywalker.
Do not kill this mosquito, Katie. It could be your ticket to super heroism or super villainousness, I'm telling you, do not kill this mosquito. I let everything bite me. When I'm in the park, I'm like, here you go, squirrel. I try and feed the squirrel. I try and get the squirrels to bite me. I try and do all sorts. You heard me talking about injecting rabies into weasels and greasing them up earlier.
For the podcast listeners, London is definitely foaming at the mouth at the moment. I just need you to know.
I'm so desperate to be more than I am, Katie. I try and lean into all the accidents. Do not kill that mosquito. I'm telling you now.
All right. Well, he's gonna bite me 5 more times.
Good. And the sixth one is the one where you wake up and you're like, "Whoa, have prehensile strength." Like you'll see.
What will my name be?
Super Zika. As
Super Zika.
As Big Yanks has said. You're Super Zika, and I would be El Chupador.
Nice.
I am Hispanic. My power of suckage. Me gusta chupar.
At one point, I did get the nickname Flaca con Alma Gorda, so I think that is also a really fun name that I could have.
Flaca Gorda, skinny.
With a fat soul.
Yeah. Rick, though, on YouTube says, I let everything bite me. Jonathan, patient zero.
Jonathan's definitely eating bats, by the way, guys.
I'm not eating bats. I'm trying to understand them better. Right? That's how I'm doing. And Scott, I'm going to come down to Orange County, and I know we got this corona. I'm going to bite you, baby, because you've got superpowers, and I want a little bit of that, man. And if any of y'all want to window into those superpowers, you go to twitch.tv 3-4 times a week. There's a schedule up on the Twitch channel, and it's Scott Klopfenstein is the channel that you want. We're at Geekscape TV, and I'll be honest with you. I see this whole operation that you've got with G. Scott and your moderators and stuff like that, and that's something I want for Geekscape at least once a week, because that's all we do is really once a week. And I really it's me like doing the Geekscape streams. It's me and Katie doing some haha. I really don't know how to moderate our live Geekscape broadcast. Like I don't know enough about Twitch, so I was like watching you play songs, and I was like, oh, but what else goes into this and all that stuff. But then I reached the end of my intelligence, which was very quick, and I just was like, nah, we good. I'm just gonna say fuck jokes.
I mean, it's all well. I think the thing. So when I started talking with the guy Mitch, and I've talked with some other streamers as well. It's all about like. Everybody starts really slowly because there's a huge learning curve. So like, I mean, again, like Scott and I have been doing this 4 nights a week for a little over a month. Okay. So we have, over like 30 shows in the can. And, like we just got this thing called a stream deck.
Which, you can switch it.
We have this thing now. I got the Littlest Man Band light bright.
Okay.
Behind me. So every time I play a Littlest Man Band song, it lights up.
Okay, let me write this down.
Yep.
And then after I'm done with the song, it turns off.
Okay.
Light so bright, like you just do little things. Stream deck is helpful. Okay. It will take you about a month to get it.
Oh geez.
Because everyone and their mother has a stream deck.
Dead in a month.
It's true. It's true.
Hopefully the price has gone down. Camera. Just us getting a second camera took a month.
Oh, I don't doubt that.
Geez.
I don't doubt that at all.
Who's this guy who's helping you, Marcel?
Marcel. Don't steal him.
I mean, we have like, if you want to, I mean, he's got a great show. His name is Mitch Bruzzy.
Mitchie.
And Mitch. He's great. He's a great drummer and a good friend.
I don't know. Mitchie B.
Let's see. If you want to see, there's also, and so Mitch's whole thing is pretty incredible because he's got like 5 different camera angles.
Oh, geez, you're making it worse. Okay.
but he's completely self-sustained.
Oh, geez.
Like he's got like 4 different. He's got 3 different screens. Like he's got a stream deck. Like he's got an amazing setup. Okay. And like the subscribers control the lights.
Okay. Well, I'd like.
Oh, that's dope.
It's pretty cool. We're looking into like getting more lights in the studio so that people who subscribe can do more on the lights. It's like everybody's participating because again, like, and I have a 71 song list, right?
Okay.
that like people can request from. But then like people yell out random stuff, and I'm just like, I'll give it a shot. Why not?
Like the
Yeah.
Billy Ocean
And
song that I told you to just play tomorrow
yeah,
night.
like the Billy Ocean thing.
Okay.
And
You're not gonna do
and
it.
so, and if it goes well, I add it to the list. If it doesn't, I maybe go home and try it and then see if it works. And if it not, then you don't do it. But
What about Wheel of Human Skin? That's what I've got. I've got the Wheel of Human Skin. I talked about it earlier on the show.
Oh man,
we
We're
don't
about to
do
see
that
next
yet
week.
because we're in a warehouse instead of like a regular house. So we want to keep like the rats down.
Okay.
Oh.
Well,
I feel like human skin.
You know, London, he really wants those
I
rats.
want the
biting him,
rats
so.
up. I want to up
No,
the rat
I know you.
factor,
Yeah.
knowing that any of those rats could have gotten to a radioactive isotope. So
Right.
okay, I've written all this down. I've got it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm looking.
But yeah, Scott and I spend a lot of time just watching other streams.
Okay.
We watch, we talk to people, and it's a fun little community. And then like you go and you raid people at the end, or people raid you.
Yeah, raiding.
Great.
It's so fun. It's so great.
I raid on that mosquito. How does this work?
Oh, I really want to raid that fucking mosquito.
No, like
yeah,
dump, like someone will dump at the end of their show. They'll take whoever's
viewers.
left and they'll come in and raid your show. So like, and what winds up happening almost every single time is right when you're about to go be done, someone will raid you with like 20 people, and you're like, well, I can't stop now. So then you got to go for like another 15, 20 minutes.
A show is over, and you get an audience like coming out of that show, and they dump into your show. I got it. Okay, well, Donuts in Manila says, although for a podcast setup, this is pretty neat.
Pretty great.
I don't know how much more adjustments can be made. Well, Donuts in Manila, Katie and I do the show once a week, sometimes twice a week, and I really appreciate you and Scott's fans being here with us. Next week we got a comic book creator. Katie, I'm gonna throw it up the mail so I can read his name, but I got this random solicitation from next week's guest, and his name is Valley, and he has written this comic book that's pretty amazing. It's called Genius Animals, and the cool thing about Valley, he just found me out of nowhere because I do this podcast, and he knows that I have comic book creators on, and the dude is a pretty successful TV producer and writer. He's written for 30 Rock, Modern Family. He's been nominated and won several Emmys and Writers Guild Awards and things like that. And just out of the blue, Valley was like, hey, I'm a big TV guy, and I've done some really cool, successful things in television, but I'd love to come on Geekscape and talk about my comic book, because I'm not a comic book guy yet, and I want, and he's giving this comic book away for free. So if you go to, let me find the website, you Geekscapists who are into the comics can go and check out this comic.
Give it to him on Monday when we do the show.
But if you want to read it in advance, it's at geniusanimals.net. So you go to geniusanimals.net and read the comic book. And the artwork's amazing, and I can't wait to have Valley up on the show. That'll be Monday, same time as this one, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we'll be talking to our guy on the same stream, and would love to have some of y'all back. Scott will not be back with us unless he would like to do some musical accompaniment, and by that I mean the Billy Ocean Millennium Falcon song.
Millennium Falcon song. That would be dope. That would.
I am kind of thinking about it already.
Yeah,
oh my gosh, please. Oh, if you write more lyrics to it, oh, we're so there.
We got a full day of rest tomorrow to get ready for the lyrics.
No, tomorrow's crazy.
Tomorrow's
I entertain kids in the morning, then I come home and I teach my own kids.
I don't have kids.
No. I mean, but this is like, I'm living it's like I said when you hit me up, like I'm living the dream.
There you go.
Like I can't really ask for much more out of life than what I got right now. Like I get the opportunity to play music for people. I've got great friends and family around me, and I'm like, so far, I'm above ground.
Well, I'm just glad that you're back, baby. I'm glad that you and I can actually hang out and in person when this is all over, that we can hang out again, because you are my creative brother. And when you were in New York, when you were going through that period when you were on meth, I was really worried about you, dude. When you were like, I'm kidding, he was never on meth. This is how it happened.
I called it Blizz.
Rickdo says Incel Bot he poops on Genius Animals. Incel Bot is our resident robot, and he is not very nice.
He's not very nice.
He is an incel, and we are gonna learn him on Monday with the new Geekscape. So come back on Monday, Geekscapists, and hang out. I'm going to wrap up the show. Again, you can hang out with Scott on his Twitch 4 nights a week. That is twitch.tv/Scott Klopfenstein. You can find Katie on social media at L Sassy Pants, and she is sassy.
That's right.
Very
you can also see me in Heidi's movie, Chasing Fletcher Allen, which was just premiered in the Women in Film Festival.
That's right. The Female Filmmakers Festival, which Heidi's so busy. I was doing some of the panels and like meet and greet things. And I'm like the dude in a Zoom with all these different people. These women are
so
like,
tell us about your female perspective.
Tell us about making a movie, these female filmmakers. And I was like, I'll let everybody else speak first. I'm not wanted here, but it was fun, and they enjoy the movie, so we're just gonna keep rocking. As I said, like I've just been going through old hard drives. I finished up a bunch of work that I handed in this week for a client, and now I've gone through hard drives and found like old shorts and things that I'm gonna finish up and get to y'all. And more Geekscape, always Geekscapes. I love Geekscapes. I've been doing it for 15 years, and on International Podcasting Day, I got to tell you, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, okay. And then he's done.
And
so,
fuck you.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck us both. Scott, it was so great meeting you. Thank you so much.
I know.
No, shut up, London. Hey.
I was on a roll.
Reclaiming my time.
I was on a roll, and my incel bot kicked me out of the room. He knocked me. I literally.
That's actually really funny.
It was really funny. Okay, let's end the show.
All right.
I love you, Katie. I love you, Scott. Go check out Scott on Twitch.
You too.
And I love all of y'all for watching. Thank you all so much, Scott. We will do the show soon. Love you, man. And I ain't doing anything else. So happy International Podcast Day, Geekscapists. Go on any podcast app that you're using. Leave us a review. Share Geekscape with your friends. And happy International Podcast Day. Up and out of here. Don't hate, create. If you ordered a Geekscape t-shirt, we're actually putting them in the mail very soon. Love you so much. Go subscribe to something else for the Geekscape Network. And I love you. Peace.